Thank you, TJ. Thank you, everyone. Your words make me feel a little shy. It's not only shy, but I guess I just do simple words, and I guess it's most you, the people. Through my experience in the Spiritist Center for the last maybe 14 years or so, and the connections with the spirits, the mentors, in every work in the Spiritist Center, but in talks like this, in lectures, we see how much they interact and how much they do for you, and so that the words spoken here, in my case, reach your soul, reach your heart in such a way that I couldn't do it. I'm certainly sure, in a way, they do, we know the dynamics of the spiritual world, how they manipulate the energies, how they know each one of us very deeply, and how they suggest us to say words and phrases and stories in a way that connects most to the people sitting in the audience, in the chairs there. Every talk that I deliver, usually I say that I finish the talk when I finish to speak, because for me there's no finished talk, finished lecture before you start, repeat the same. Because even though I have an idea what I'm going to say, I know that if I complete it all, there will be no room for the spirits, and only the spirits, your spirit guides, knows what's best for you. I have a topic the Spiritist Center give me, but God knows best what you need. And in here, the spirits will give me ideas, intuition, suggestions in a way that connects most to you. In that way, I feel very little here, because there's a big group of spirits here working very, very hard. So in a way that we all be blessed by the words and by the energies, because meanwhile while I'm talking, there's a lot of scenes, pictures that spirits create in the spiritual world, so that we can understand, that we can heal ourselves. And this is the first 2 weeks of the year, right? And we still have a lot of hopes for the year, right? Because we made so many plans, resolutions, as they say, to change, to accomplish throughout the year, and we have so much to do, right, along the year, along our life, that we can't really, live without hope. There's, even though there's the end of the year, it's just a day to finish the year, and we have a lot to do, we still have hope to finish those things, right? And then we don't accomplish those things at the last moment. We say, thank God I have another year to go on. And then in a way that hope never ends. If we doesn't accomplish or fulfill our ideals, our projects, whatever that we intend to do in the time due that we thought about, and then we renew it again and again until we accomplish it. So that's why we are here today, exploring, thinking, and reflecting about the possibilities of hope. Especially, in terms that Earth, the planet itself, the human beings are going through so much in terms of distresses, right? Struggles of all kinds, violence, Earth, planetary in a way that, natural disasters, fire. There's a lot of sickness going on that, the hospitals is full with sick people, accidents everywhere. In a way, we feel a lot of pressured. Our hope sometimes comes down. We feel depressed, and even though the message that we receive in the Spiritist Center every day that we come, we read or hear a person speaking, it renews it in some way, but sometimes we walk our days in a way that, oh my God, wishing that all this ends so fast, like, oh my God, when the earth will turn to this planet that we all want, that peaceful, no hatred. However, it's not going to end very soon, but our hope will never finish, will never end. That hope maintains us working even harder when we see things that we see on earth, in a way that is not good. And we can see in our families, friends, or even strangers, we read stories that happens to even have happened to us, but mostly sometimes happen to other people. Very difficult stories, very difficult experiences that these people overcame. They overcame such great odds in their life, such a great struggles, that we thought that for them to succeed would be very impossible, because the odds were so hard. And then they overcame, they succeeded, and be sometimes a illnesses, sometimes the person were so miserable, and in over the years this person succeeded. There's so many stories that sometimes we read and then we think, we doubt sometimes that it is possible, that it is true. And sometimes we went to check even the details just to make sure that it's not a lie. And it happens sometimes to people very close to us. And then we compare to ourselves, to our own problems, and then we kind of think, oh my God, what these people have to overcome such a big obstacle, such a big thing. And then I am here with my little things and I'm so stuck. And in a way I don't have what they have that I don't. What these people possess, what they have learned that I yet don't. Because, we put ourselves in their places sometimes, and then we say, no, I wouldn't be able to overcome such a big thing, such a big struggle. I can't. And we see, and we try to find in them something very, very special, something very different. And then we try, and then we don't see anything so much different from us. We see just people as normal as everybody else on earth. And then we may sometimes feel down because even though we're struggling so much and working so much, we can't do what they do. But the fact is we can do right. We do a lot of things that even now we think that is not possible. Because hope is there to us, to help us see things and accomplish things. Of course, it's going to take time. So I'm going to bring you here, I love stories. I think you know me already. Because for me, stories from other people, sometimes simple stories or more like complex stories, teach us a lot, because if those people had the potential, they were smart enough, they were good enough to do what they had done, they are as human as we are. They are spirits created by God as we were created by God. They are living on earth, they are dressed by a body as everybody else, and so if they had done things so deemed impossible, why can't we, at least do the things that we think that is not possible? maybe we are not able to accomplish what they had or will, but we can accomplish a lot of things according to our limits and what we have learned. And I have this book that I bought in the Barnes & Noble called 365 Amazing Stories. I just forgot the author, Patterson, James Patterson. I have it in my bag. I'll show you the end. So they are 365 amazing stories, and they are so unique in many ways, and so many known people in the United States and abroad. It's all about people. And every time that I feel down or something, I take a page and I read the story and say, my God, this person could do it. Why I'm not? So, and then this has been a book that I use a lot in my life, and I tell the stories in talks like this. If you see the book at the end, I gonna like tell the stories. It's in the book, in my words. It's not exactly how it's in the book, but I brought from this book 365 stories, amazing stories. The first story tells about this guy called Sam. By the age of 13 years old, he had a kind of cancer that was very, very, very bad cancer, that the doctors thought that he wouldn't be able to live long. Although he got healed by the first cancer. By the age of 16, he came out again with a second kind of cancer, very rare cancer in the chest. And he was put to coma, induced coma for a year. 1 year in induced coma. He lost one lung, and during the treatment. However, when the doctors thought that he'll be dead in a week, even the priest came to say the final words goodbye for him. But he survived. He survived the two cancers that were, this kind of cancers, in a short period. The doctors say that the odds of survival for this kind of thing will be like a person winning lottery 4 times in a row with the same numbers, using the same numbers. So rare. I mean, it's for us. We thought it would be impossible, right? But we were impossible. And when he woke up, he had a long journey to go, because it was not just surviving from two cancers. He had to heal and live with one lung only. It will be difficult to breathe, and how much difference makes. And he, from the starting, when he woke up, he decided to heal himself from the sickness and so forth. And he made a promise that he would do effort to overcome his condition. And he was watching TV and watching this program that there is this Ironman championship in Hawaii. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a triathlon, competition, very, very hard. And he promised himself that he one day would compete in this Ironman championship in Hawaii. Imagine a person there dying in the bed. So the first years of his recovery, he recovered so well that in the first, 3 years or so, he climbed the Kilimanjaro mountain. He climbed the Kilimanjaro mountain. He used some quotes that is quoted in the book that says that a person, suppose can live 30 days without food, right? And about 5 days without water, and a couple of, seconds or minutes without oxygen. But a person cannot live life without hope. That was his, he to that message, and he had the hope to accomplish what he could. Over the years, he went all the way up to many other obstacles, challenged the immense possibilities of hope. The next year he tried training, and the next few years later he climbed the Everest mountain. You know, the Everest mountain, one of the highest summit in the world. We know about 30,000 feet high. And then the next years following, he skied to the South Pole, and then to the North Pole, using one leg. By the next 5 or 10 years, he climbed the 7th most highest summit in the world, the 7 continents. Every continent he climbed the mountains, every continent, with one leg. And he skied to the South and North Pole. In history, he was the only man to do this kind of thing with one leg. And to complete his mission, at the end, you know, he's still living. He competed in the Ironman, you know, championship in Hawaii. How could a person that, like a decade ago, supposedly, he was dying in the table in the hospital, induced in a coma for a year, would do such a miracle 10 years later, 15 years later, with such a physical, you know, condition? And then we see that kind of person, you know, there's the story of this man, but stories like this, there's for thousands everywhere. It's just that we don't know them. Maybe some people that lives around us that we don't know so much, they have this kind of stories too. But because it's not reported, not written in a book, nobody knows. But there are people around us with such stories. And, you know, when we see stories like this and we compare to our own stories, to our own life, we feel like, you know, what did this person, you know, had that I don't? Because I'm so stuck in my simple life, struggling with little simple things. I'm trying to just learn in a little language, or a new job, or a new trend, or this, and I'm so stuck in this person with that condition. We're able to rise up above all the struggles and make it happen. Of course, there are a lot of factors in there, but one deep thing, as this guy says, is the hope. There's the hope, this feeling that the person even can't describe or explain in details what's going on inside the person. The only thing that the person knows that is that they can, or this person can do what comes to their mind, right? Of course, when he was laying in the bed there, he wouldn't explain, oh my God, I'm gonna do this. I have a plan, a mathematical plan, equation. No, he knew inside that if he did enough work, enough training, enough effort, he will be able to accomplish his deeds, his project. But he wouldn't, have the words to explain if for sure he would do that. But there were a feeling inside of him, a kind of faith that no one can explain sometimes in words, in a rational manner. We in the Spiritism, of course, we say that Spiritism is a rational faith, right? It's not a blind faith. But there is this faith as well that cannot be explained in little details, all explained. There's this certain inside of us, this inner voice that tells us something will happen in my life that will change the course of things for me. And then if ask the person who asks us how it's going to happen, if we were to explain word by word the plan, we will not be able to do this. In some way, we blindly have this certainty. We have no way of explaining it. Therefore, it's not literally and rational faith in a way of like mathematical rational faith that I can put in a lab and calculate and have this thing, right? It's just this inner force in me, this inner voice, this inner message that tells me things will be right, they'll be good. And if questioned by others, how, Adrian? How can you explain that in 10 years from now we'll be achieving this if you are in just this little situation that you are now? It's impossible. If asked that person will have no words of explaining that, right? But after 10 years, after 15 years, he would explain. He would say, you know, I trained a lot. I made effort. I had to do this. I had to make this connection, that connection, that connection. But he would be able to explain this afterwards, not beforehand. That's what we call hope sometimes. Hope sometimes cannot be explained per se. It's like the Christians, after Jesus came, Jesus said to them and preached to them and helped them to preach the gospel that say, that the gospel one day will be spread to the whole world and the new world would come. The kingdom of God will be implanted on earth and so forth. They had no idea whatsoever what kind of kingdom is that. What kind of word will be that? However, they had this faith, this hope that these things that Jesus told them would be one day implanted on earth. They had no way of explaining that how exactly it gonna be happening, but they knew. They knew if they had done their part, they have worked so hard and preached the gospel and died for the gospel, for the love of the gospel, in the hopes for the future, that will be accomplished in the future. And perhaps some of them even believed and had hope that will be accomplished in their lifetime, because they had no idea that the Christian teaching will survive for another 2,000 years or more. I guess they thought more towards the 100 years or so, right? They would not think from 2,000 years in the future. But even though they believed, they had this thing inside of us, they were like facing the greatest odds of their time. They were like a few followers of a carpenter, a preacher that was very little known in the time, facing the brutality of the time, the unfaithful people, the pagans and so forth, the Romans with their persecutions, the Jewish with the radical Jewish of the time, and they really they had this hope. No, we can beat those odds. Thousands of them were brought to the circus, as we know, to be executed and made a spectacle for the people. How a person can face so much things, so much bad odds in life without hope, right? And today is kind of in a very, very less in the scale situation, but we face our own odds in our lives. We have to climb mountains, giant mountains, not the physical mountains in Everest or Kilimanjaro or the Andes in everywhere that there is, but we have our own mountains of problems, right? Inside of us, great sadness that sometimes we feel, then mounts towards us, and we don't know how to climb them. And all the depression or illnesses or relationship problems, there are a lot of things that we going through personally and around us, and sometimes we feel that we've been beaten down, right? That we can't overcome all those things around us. But the fact is we can. We can, and if we do really put effort, we're going to see how much we can accomplish. That's how much we have done. If we had the chance to stop back 200 years ago and see our position there, we wouldn't imagine that we were here today. How much things that we did to stay here at this moment, listen and reflect. And if it told to us 200 years ago that we will be, in a timeline overcoming obstacles, being betrayed, being killed, or a lot of things, then we thought, oh, no way, that's not possible. It can't be. I can't go through those things. Yet, 200 years later, we are here, right? The same thing is going to happen 200 years from now, or more or less. Maybe, we have ideals in our lives that seems impossible to accomplish tomorrow, but even though we keep them in us, right, as something possible, and then if it tells us that in 50 years or 100 years we'll be able to accomplish, to achieve those things, and if it told to us that we had to, like, for example, be persecuted to death, be imprisoned for life, for some unjust reason, or this very bad things, like, or illnesses like this person had, and then we say, right in front, that no, that's I can't do it. I will not be able to overcome those obstacles for the future that you are foreseeing for me. However, we will. We know that Earth, with the spirits that we are all, are still very young, and we still a lot of to learn. We still a lot of to overcome, to grow. And we have a lot of debts as well that we have to rectify, to pay. And then it's so logical and reasonable that we're going to face difficult struggles for the future. When we talk about hope, it's not that we foresee or want a very easy life in the future. Like, oh, I hope that my life will be a breeze in 10 years from now, right? Not at all. We're not talking about this kind of hope that we live in idleness and with no challenges at all that makes us better. No, we're not talking about the hope of the evil as well, because even the evil people, the evil souls is still on earth. They have hopes, but their hopes is very distorted and evil. Like, they hope that something bad happens to people. That's not kind of thing. We're talking about the good and love and hope of Jesus Christ, right? So we have learned in Spiritism that we are our lives is structured by laws, and those laws are natural laws. They are given and created by God, and we can't really bend those laws. In a way, we have to navigate through those laws, and then we like hurt ourselves from trying to bend them along our evolution days. But we've been learning that as well we have all the means necessary in us, all the tools necessary in us to learn how to follow, how to evolve and learn to live those laws, right? And the Spiritism is very much broad on those laws, because it explains us how those laws works, right? The free will, the laws of reincarnation, immortality of the soul, communicability of the spirits, all those laws is explaining to us. And for us in Spiritism, we have more reasons than other people, I would say that way, in terms of knowledge, to have hope. Because for certain people that don't have those explanations, they have to rely in their pure faith and hope with no explanation at all. They hope and they really believe that certain thing in the future will be that way. but have no way of explanation for them. They don't know that they're gonna reincarnate again. They don't know that Earth will not end very soon. They don't have the idea that there is this life in the spiritual realm, that they can evolve, they can have the relationship with their loved ones and so forth, right? So without all those knowledge, they are situated inside of them, and they have to really rely on that. That fact is really admires me a lot in those people, because I see those people with so very little in terms of knowledge, spiritual knowledge, and all what we have in the Spirit is accomplished so much, and with very little doubt. Very little doubt. They just believe and they go on, and they go like working and putting effort. Those things are going to happen. And sometimes we, in the midst of spiritists, with so much to as a foundation for our faith, for our hopes, with so much doubt, with so much questioning, right? Oh my God, maybe it's not the time yet for the transitions of the earth. Maybe the spirits isn't really progressing. And some spiritists even don't believe sometimes that they are progressing, that they are regressing, right? And so much doubt that so much knowledge is bringing to people that sometimes is a paradox. Is a paradox for me, and I see that sometimes people that don't have any knowledge of spiritists, they are much more advanced in their faith, in their doings, in their doing good, despite that we know a lot of things. However, we have a lot of things that to found our faith and really keep going forward, because we know that we have as I told before, the means necessary to go on, pressing on. Because we have multiple lifetimes. If we are facing struggles today, this year, in any way possible, maybe we'll not be able to climb any mountain this lifetime. But we know for sure that if we keep going, pressing on and learning, the next lifetime or even in the spiritual world, we'll be able for that. Why not keeping our hopes up, right? Why we are so depressed and cut off short through wars and bad politicians or bad doctors or bad teachers or bad spiritists or bad religion people, right? No, this is not a reason for us to be cut so short and be let down. It's more like reason for us to keep going and struggling. And as I was talking before, I was like, studying some research and some works in researching how religion have been affecting families in America, especially, and this research are very interesting, and the scientists are working in this perspective, and telling us that religion has been helping people so much. This is in America, United States. But some of the facts is that religion is helping people to, like, very simple things in life to more complex things. People that have religion, like that really work on religion, not just have a name or a label that tell them that they are this or that religion. They recover much better from any illnesses, cancer or other religion or other problems. They have less depression. They have less problem in their family with their teenagers. And they have more opportunities in employment than the regular non-religion people. There are so many positive factors, in religious people. And for all these benefits to really take effect in people, in religious people, they have to be really walking the talk, right? It's not, as I told before, having the label of being a spiritist that makes you receiving the benefits. No, not at all. Especially they tell that for the religious teachings really make effect on people's life, the person has to be living at least in 3 dimensions what they had, what the religion tell them. They have to live the first dimension of a person to really reap the benefit of a religion's teaching is to live that teachings in the church, and in our case in the Spiritist Center. If what I'm learning here in the Spiritist Center is not helping me in the Spiritist Center in terms of my relationship with the members of the center or members of the church, forgiving and all this, the things that we know that we have to work. If not, so it's fragmented. It's not working. So we have to work inside the center, inside the church. It's one dimension of the faith to take effect in our life. And the second dimension is in the family. It's in our home. If what I'm learning here and the books and the studies and the lectures are not put in work in my family, within my home, be whatever people if I live with them, inside my home, and then it's compromised. It's not going to work. At least it's not working. And then the third dimension, what they say, is the dimension of community. If what I'm learning here is not working in here, not in my home, nor in community, so it means that I only have a label of a Spiritist, a label of a Catholic, Protestant, whatever I am in. So it means that I have to embrace 3 dimensions in my life. Dimension of the Spiritist Center, dimension of my family, dimension of society. In my work, in the streets, everywhere that I face people in society, it means that what I'm learning in my religion, in case the Spiritist philosophy or science, it has to be brought there, right? And in that way is when we find, we construct, we build the ideals that we want to accomplish, right? Is there. Because even though hope is possible to accomplish whatever good thing that we may think that will be possible, it's not going to happen by miracle, right? That person that I told this story in the beginning, if he wouldn't make his way out of the bed, crawl out of the bed, do hard things, do you think that he would be able even to go downstairs of the hospital? Or no, he wouldn't, right? The mountains didn't come to the hospital and took him out of the bed. He had to work out there. We have hope to be better today, right? To overcome our pride, to overcome our selfishness, to be better and kinder person, to be more forgiveness, to be all these things that we learn in the gospel. But those virtues is not gonna dress us from. We're not gonna buy the dress or something in the store that we're gonna dress and then for now on I'm better, or somebody will gonna gift us. Come to the Spiritist Center, they see it, and here's a gift for you. It's called patience. Take it and then you're good. No, those things not come for us without work, without effort. So it is possible for us to be like the Apostle Paul, as Chico Xavier. It is very possible. If they did, anyone else can do. The Apostle Paul was very radical. He was even a psychopath, I would say, that way before knowing Jesus. If he would have this behaving these days, do you think that he would survive? He would be in jail in the first persecution that he did, right? He wasn't in jail at that time because he was a man of the law. but he could be very much in jail because of his behavior before knowing Jesus. In that way, he wasn't a good man, because a good man never hurts people, even if they have a different belief. And this can be said true in his time and this time today. And if he did bad things, even though he believed that was right, not because he believed that was right, it was really right, right? So he was doing really wrong, persecuting the Christian. So he had to, in the middle of his lifetime, he had to overcome huge odds in his life. He had, to turn himself from a persecutor, an enemy, to the very best friend of those that he persecuted. And that can't be done by only a couple of words. For him to accomplish that, that deed, that beautiful thing that he done, he had to overcome like thousands of obstacles. He had to be beaten, persecuted, left alone, betrayed, and in the end of the life cut off his head. Right? It wasn't a really easy pathway, but he could, and he did that. Why a man like him, that was like a bad man? Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it's just my opinion, but I don't see good men persecuting others in all time of human in history, right? Just because this person are said to be a priest or said to be or something else. So if it would be true, like the people in the Catholic Church of the past, like the Inquisition, they were good people because they believed that killing people and in the stake, burning people in the stake, were defending the faith. Can we say that they were good people? No, but they thought that was the right thing. Peter were persecuting people because he thought before knowing Jesus. So in that way, it doesn't make sense, if people do bad things, that they are good people. Only good people do good things, not bad people do, it's not mistake on those kind of things. That's, I guess, the Spiritists explain it as well. As we know from the spirits, these good spirits, they do good things. The bad spirit can do, bad things. And I just got in my time. So in that way, if we stop to just see in which position we are today, and what we have accomplished, and what we have in all realms possible, like in knowledge, people, relationship, family, I don't know. We can fulfill a page, right? With accomplishment, with things that we have that supports us, that makes us I have all those things in my hands that I can use. Maybe there's people that have nothing. Supposedly, we see they have nothing. Sometimes they are very poor, miserable, with not a penny in their pocket, and they say, one day I'll be buying this building, and you say, oh, dream. And then 10 years, 15 years later, they are there, right? And with that building, owning that building. Or there's so many stories that happens every day, that then we don't stop to think that those stories can be ours if we do things right, if we work right. If we can be good. I'm not mentioning here in terms of financially things. I'm just giving those examples. We can, of course, achieve that if we really work for that, and then if we think that is the best thing to do to help ourselves and help humanity. But in terms of being good people of the gospel, we are in the Spiritist Center, as we were talking before, in the first place that we should work the teachings that we learn, and then we come to the past, the primitive Christians, and we read Emmanuel's book, in their little church, their very simple place that would bring the gospel of Jesus, when they get together there, I don't see, Emmanuel saying that they had fights, that they had discussion over little things, that they were disputing this, disputing that. When they got together, they had like so joyful to talk about the Jesus teachings. And then when they heard about the persecution, that someone were betraying, they were bringing the soldiers, to bring them for the martyrdom. They were now forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. I don't know if Emmanuel is lying, but I don't see any book portrays Christian in discussion, stereo discussion, and trying to I don't know, dispute about something. They were there harmoniously, looking forward, understanding each other's problems, understanding the weakness of one another. And that's why they had so much to expect, so much to hope for the future, right? And today, we have so much ahead of us, as the spirits are telling us, and we are in this transition, right? And the transition, of course, takes time. And we were hoping that it will be like done in few years. Even though we're spiritists, and we know that there's nothing like done overnight, right? Or in a quantum loop of time. And then we are human beings. We have this little fantasy, or we're so mystified sometimes that even we have this in our mind that it's not possible. We think that in 5 years from now everything will be peaceful, that there will be like billions of good spirit incarnated on earth, and then the presidents and the educators will be so good. It's just like, children. We are just children. Like, it's not true. It's not true. Even though if there is, things won't change very much, because there will be just few people. Like, we had in the past so very high potential people, like St. Francis and so many others. Even Jesus, the perfect spirit came on earth. And there at that time were like how many thousand people were in Jerusalem at that time, not compared to New York. And then if Jesus couldn't bring so in a very short time, why a president or somebody like very high will bring on earth today with so billions of people? No way, right? So we have to work on the little things in our life to make it happen. But we can do, we can hope, we can work. And there's this, even the nature itself, the animals and everything, it brings lessons to us that if we press on, we can achieve miracles. And the past, I guess sometimes the past is the best field and that we can research, that we can read, that teaches us about the present. Because the past lies so much trouble, so much like pain. If we come 100 years ago, or a little more, a little less, First World War, Second World War, the Nazis, the Holocaust, how many, just the First World War, about 35 million people were killed. Can you think about double of the people of New York were killed or more? Not to talk about the second and the Holocaust and everything, how maybe a billion people were killed just in persecution and in war in the last 150 years. We can't imagine how painful, how dark were those days, and how those people would be able to survive, and how we were able to do what we are doing today with so much easiness, right? Compared to the past. But they had their things to grab on. They didn't, we didn't lost our faith. We didn't lost at all our hope. That's why we are here. And It was like running the days of 1937, I guess, 1938, in which, you know, the German Nazis were about to start their persecution, where the United States were trying to come out of the Great Depression. There were like unemployment everywhere. There were soup lines growing so big. You know, people were desperate of those times, even though, you know, things were bad. And people were like trying to grab in things that would bring them hope. And it was, you know, the Franklin Roosevelt, you know, they were the president of the time, that later on, you know, he would overcome the Nazis, and in 1945 about and be killed anyway. So and then, you know, United States and the world itself were in an edge of a very big, or coming out of a crisis to a bigger crisis, but in a way they needed hope. And you know, sports all the time in some ways is good, because people like need something to grab on, and even though it's a sport, you know, it's not religion, but it's everything that brings hope to people is good. So in that time, the great sport of the time were the races, right? The horse racing, horse race. Like they say, it's like the horse racing were the sport of the king, and the king of the sports, as they say in the book. So there were this horse in the east coast called the War Admiral. He was a thoroughbred, a pure bloodline, and he were the son of a Triple Crown horse, and now he was winning the Triple Crown too. He was winning in the East Coast a lot. He was very admired, and he was like the horse of the rich. You know, the Kennedy people all the time. He was that kind of a horse of the rich and the country club people. And the west side was the Sea Biscuit, right? I guess everyone knows a little bit of Sea Biscuit, right? The horse. It's a very simple story, but I guess there's a lot of things that we can learn about it. So the Sea Biscuit was from the west, and the west was, you know, were the circuit the second, because the East Coast was the best circuit and you know, the champions. And Sea Biscuit was reaping a lot of winning. He won about 9 out of 15, and he was the leading win money of the country. So what happened is the media claimed, you know, they like challenged, you know, a race between the War Admiral, which was the big horse, and the Sea Biscuit. So all the people become crazy about this race. How come, you know, a Sea Biscuit, a very, you know, no history at all Sea Biscuit had. It was very simple horse. It's like, you know, the Admiral horse, the king, and the Sea Biscuit was the Cinderella. It's like, you know, was like, you know, the Admiral was like from the high class, and there was the Sea Biscuit from the wrong side of the track. So it was all the contrary things. But people were like, you know, very crazy about this horse. He was a very little horse compared to the thoroughbred Admiral. So they arranged a dispute race between the two horses in a Pilinco racetrack. But this racetrack had only like 15,000 places for the audience. So in a way, they put the race in a weekday, in afternoon, because all the working people supposed to be working, right? Only the bosses were in some way able to go to the race. But the day came, and 40,000 people came to see the race in that arena. And the radios everywhere in this country, 40 million people stopped to see the race between the two horses. Even the President Roosevelt, they say that he left his cabinet earlier to to hear from the radio the race in which Seabiscuit and War Admiral will race, because there were this unemployment. These people had some hope, and in some way they projected themselves in those animals. And in a very historical day, the very little horse, the Cinderella horse, he won the race. He overcame one of the greatest odds of racing in this country. In the animal, the Seabiscuit, that's why he is so broadly known in the United States. I guess there's still movies about him. And in a way, that winning of the Seabiscuit brought hope to 40 or more million people in America. Those unemployed people, those people in the soup line, they thought that we can do it. The soldiers abroad brought hope to them, because even though there were great obstacles ahead of them, they could overcome their enemies, their obstacles. In a way, this race between two animals proved once again it's not the strongest, it's not the fastest, not the smartest person. In a way, in that case was animal, a horse. But in society, in us, it's not the most religious, the most richest person on earth. It's not the best spiritist, the best speaker, the best person that will really succeed. Sometimes is the one that less expected, right? Nobody expected that the little horse would really fly as a gazelle in this racetrack. Nobody expects sometimes that an immigrant or somebody else would do this or that. And nobody else at that time of Jesus would expect a carpenter, born out of nothing, a very simple woman and a man and a manager would teach to the Messiah. And still today, or after so many years, people don't believe. But even though there will be always the disbelievers, is a fact that simple carpenter, that nobody, even the most faithful person in the beginning, would not expect that he would accomplish so much. And if there is all those things that we see around us that prove it by fact, because this is not the stories told by fiction, right? Those are facts of life. Those stories you can check them on Google. You can check Jesus in Google too, and others like that we know by fact that they're possible. They are not different. They are not special. And if by fact that is being done over and over again over decades and centuries, and then we spiritists of the 21st century with so much at hand and so much learning, why not we can't, right? There is always the infinite possibilities. It lays ahead of us. Let us not, be so cut short. And if you have made your plans for this year, sometimes you made big plans, right? Then you think to yourself, maybe it's too big, that maybe it's not possible. Just believe that it is possible. Like if you not by the end of the year or by the end of this lifetime be able to do the whole thing, you lost nothing. You had only to gain. And the Spiritism is all about hope. We see, we don't see any Spiritist book putting people down. We see all the André Luiz's books, Ivone Pereira and many others talking about rescuing bad spirits, criminal spirits in the lower zones, helping people that are very strayed from the good pathway, right? We don't see any Spiritist book telling us that the spirits were imprisoning the bad spirits and punishing them, and then all those kind of dark things that we imagine on earth. No, we don't see that. because God loves everyone. God loves everyone. And if we believe in the love of God, there's no reason at all that we don't believe in goodness in people and expect the best from them, even though the moment show contrary to us. We see very criminal people overnight turn to be good people and do miracles. And we see, for example, in the memoirs of suicide, right? All those spirits in the very lower dark zones of the spiritual world, even criminals, they were rescued, they were helped, they were treated, and in some of their reincarnations portrayed in the book, they did a lot of good things. They accomplished a lot of good things. And if we had a chance to see them there, their craziness, with their minds so much disturbed, would not think that they will be able in couple of decades later, 50 or 60 years later, in that situation. Just because it is possible, because the loving mentors knew things that we don't know. By contrary, we know, but sometimes we don't want to believe, we don't want to bet on those things. We don't want to search, we don't want to work on that. That's the difference, because we here, rationally, by knowledge, we know those things. But when it comes to really believing in that certain inside of us and betting our life on that, we just keep back, right? We back off in some way. We believe that the progression of the spirits, that if we help and all those things, will be able to grow. We read the books and then we'll be very emotional. We cry. However, when we face someone very, difficult in our life, and then we back off, we say, I don't believe this person is ready. This is not ready. I guess in this lifetime, this person not be able to be, to know Spiritism, or to forgive, or to be good. We are hear stories of this all the time, right? Even sometimes come the person, I don't believe in Spiritism, or say, no, this person is not ready. I guess it's gonna take another 30 years, another lifetime. Who am I to say those things, right? Maybe this person is more ready than us. Just yet, for this minute, for this moment, it's not showing. But maybe tomorrow, or after tomorrow, in the next year, it will be different. Because inside of every spirit there is something that we don't know, that will trigger something that triggers in us. That people see us as we are, and they don't see our future. They don't see how much we're going to change, how much we're going to accomplish, because they don't know us. They know a couple things that we do, like where we go, something that we say, or a couple things that we accomplish, but they don't know really who we really are inside and what we are being, flourishing, blossoming from now on. So there's no reason at all that we can't expect for the best of the people, even the worst people in society, even the worst people out there in media or in the other zones of the earth. The only thing that we don't know is exactly when. And that doesn't matter. For us as Spiritists, it doesn't matter, because we know that we are eternal beings, that we are just living a temporary lifetime on earth, dressed in this body, and then if they don't, really accomplish what we thought that would be ideal for them in this lifetime, they'll be next and next and next and so forth. Why am I in a rush, right? Why am I in a rush? Now I'm in a rush for others, right? So they change. But when we were in their situation, we didn't care that other people were rushing for us to change, right? Why now I'm willing that there will be this transformation on Earth and the bad spirit will be like long gone to other planets? Why not I fought those when I were bad, when I were evil in the past? In that past, I didn't want the Earth to be in this, expurgation. No, right? Because I'll be in the ship. Now that I suppose that I'm not in the ship, everyone else can go because now I'm saved, right? As long as I'm saved, I don't care about others. They can go to the lower zones of other planets suffering a lot. They are there, I'm here, right? There's not the Spiritist teachings. We care about those spirits that are doing evil on earth. We're supposed to expect good from them. And if it is necessary, and God knows if it is necessary, and when it's necessary, God will find a loving place for them somewhere in other planet. It's not up to me, it's not up to Spiritists, it's not up to no one on earth to tell when and they should go. And maybe, if I'm not working right, maybe I will be with them, right? I know personally discarnated spirits that were my friends, not the friends, but we knew each other in past lifetimes. They are not able to incarnate on earth anymore. And that's not about 200, 300 years ago. Imagine that what separates those spirits that incarnate in other planets, lower spirits, lower planets, that separates them from me is just 200 years. Couple of promises that I did that I'm working, that separates me from them. We don't imagine that, maybe among those spirits that will be sent to other planets will be loved ones of ours. Loved ones, despite they being criminal, they are loved ones of ours. There'll be a mother, a father that helped me, that loved me so much, and despite it being evil, right? They will be not able to incarnate in earth. And then even though we know those facts, we want them to leave earth so we can live in peace. No, people, there's not a spiritism in that thing. We should only think about loving, about hope, about expecting the better, and just having the faith in God that He is, and it is the only one that have the authority with Jesus and those, that plan those sociological, spiritual thing on earth. We just have to worry about, these three dimensions for now that we're talking about in the beginning. And if we're facing the mountains in front of us, let us not keep watching, right? Let us not keep circulating around the mountain. Let's start picking up. Eventually we'll reach the top. Because if there is a top and if you're walking, there's no other way. Maybe we can fall back a little, but we start again. And if many people around us could have accomplished, why not us? Because God is with us. Love and the Spirit is supporting us. So let us have a wonderful, marvelous year. And then by the end of this year, we're going to look back to the days and say to ourselves, my God, how much I have accomplished, how much I have done. And then if we look back, even though we're simple things, we never been able to do those things, right? I guess that's all I got.